here I am. I'm a girl.
Well, that's good.
Surprise.
You got
Gender
to keep
reveal.
it like what's the word? Everything a surprise, you know?
Or just neutral. Like no expectations.
That's true.
No expectations is one of my favorite ways to move through the world. Like just
Mm-hmm.
not having an like walking in here, having zero expectation of what was in this shop.
Yep.
I just knew I saw jean shorts in the window, but I had no idea what the shop was. I had no idea you were here, so it was like zero expectations, and what a delight the experience was.
Yeah. No,
You
that's
know?
something I definitely learned. A few years ago, it was just like every day. I've known this for a while, but like there's so many people all around us, and like each person has their own story and like their own like thing that they can offer. Not in the sense of like me take, but just like everyone has such a unique background that if you just kind of open yourself up and open like your
Yeah.
energy up, like you can you'll start like gravitating a lot of different ideas and people
Absolutely.
as well. So
Yeah.
so be
Absolutely.
open, yo.
Yeah, and also allow yourself to give.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
Yes.
equally challenging, it's
Yes.
if you're moving through the world and you're holding back, how are you're also not able to give, and it's a lovely gift to be able to give, to wake up in the morning and be grateful and have no expectations,
Yeah.
and then move through the world like and with happiness and love, and
Mm-hmm.
you're just like, I got so much, like I it's fine, you can have all of it, it's no big deal because it's abundant.
Yeah.
There's no shortage of your love and your joy if you're doing the work to always take care of yourself, and it's not in a selfish way. You have to serve self in order to serve others.
Mm-hmm.
It's a must.
Yeah.
So the more open you are, you run the risk, right? You're also open to like hurt and vulnerability, sadness, but it all goes back to love and joy. Because if you experience those things and you detach from them, you don't hold on to them. It's you learn, you experience, you move on.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it very simply, and I understand it's very hard for people, but it's a very doable concept.
Yeah. In like the last year, I mean, what you just said about giving, that's something I think I took some like personality tests in like college,
Mm-hmm.
and then like my senior year, I had this amazing professor. It was like one of those professors that just get you like super excited to come in and like just he just loves his job, you know, and he was already successful in the past, so he just came into teaching because he wanted to give back.
Yeah.
And that's what he kept saying. He's like, in leadership, it's like about giving. It's not about yourself. It's about like bringing people together and seeing how you can serve them. It's like servant leadership. And then he had us take some personality tests, and like I scored super low on like giving and like empathy, and like I was like, whatever, like who cares. And then it wasn't until like it was literally like these last 12 months where I just realized, I think it's just me getting older as well, is just like it feels good to give, like to give opportunities to like connect people and just be like, yo, like do you know, I'm excited for you, you know. So it's something that this last year I've really been opening up to and just kind of embracing. So
Yeah.
it's fun.
You're a conduit.
A conduit.
Yeah. Like that energy runs through you. And when you don't hold on to it, you're just kind of like, cool, conduit energy from here to there.
Yeah.
It moves through you,
Uh-huh.
which is like, it's just a lovely way to live. And it's a practice. I
Mm-hmm.
always say it's like working out your biceps or your core. It's a muscle. It's the muscle of intention and the muscle of attention.
Yeah.
Like, how much attention are you going to put into your intention of life? And what is your intention of life?
Yeah, and some people don't even get there. Like they don't even get
No.
to that thought of like, what's my intention? What am
Yeah.
I here for? It's just kind of just like, let's just go out this weekend, or
Yeah.
like that 9 to 5 seems cool, you
Yeah.
know?
It's getting me by. I'm
Yeah.
surviving.
Yeah, it's comfortability.
Yeah.
I think I talked to someone about that like a few weeks ago. Was like, I think people get very comfortable, and they just. I mean, it is hard. It's hard to step out of your comfort zone. But
Mm-hmm.
like, there was a long time where I felt very uncomfortable where I was, and I was just like, am I gonna still like it was comfortable but uncomfortable, if that makes sense, because I had so much more like ambition of what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
and then I was just like, I want to get out of this, like I don't want to do this, you know.
Yeah.
And then after, it's like you go chase something else, and you know, get
Yeah.
hyped up and stuff.
I always say,
And if you can, just pull the mic.
yeah, it's like, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
like you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like you gotta let like those butterflies, like you just gotta get comfortable with it. Because when you get uncomfortable, there's a challenge there, right? There's a challenge. You could see it. It's tangible. And within that challenge, there's change.
Mm-hmm.
So comfort is staying the same. Discomfort is change.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm gonna go for discomfort. I like to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I told them, I'm like, just be uncomfortable for like 2 seconds. Say the difficult words. Send the difficult text. You know, just do it. Do it because you're living in discomfort, not doing the uncomfortable thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
like you're just choosing which uncomfortable you want to be. So you might as well choose the uncomfortable that's going to create a challenge that's going to change you.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to help evolve you.
And then a lot of times, like, people don't go after that. I wonder. Yeah, there we go. Let me put this up real quick. It sounds like a little weird. How does that sound? Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you
okay,
really
cool.
good. I can hear me good, which is weird. I'm trying to like ignore it.
Okay. Yeah, so I was gonna say like, comfortable. What was I gonna say? I don't know, but I had a random thought when we were talking.
Okay.
What did you want to be when you were a kid? Wait, we didn't introduce you yet.
No.
This is Chrys. We're just getting lost in convo, yo. This
I was
is
like,
Chrys.
they'll figure it out. We're all together. Like,
We got Chrys in the building. I met her last week. She walked in. We just started chatting. Super cool. You work at Equinox and you train, do a whole bunch of classes, and I think it's all over LA or?
I go all over LA because I'm
Yeah.
a psychopath, but I'm mostly in Orange County.
Okay.
I just like to try to visit as many locations. Like I try to do a yearly pilgrimage to New York and do as many classes out there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because they're all a different vibe.
Yeah.
Like Equinox does, and I don't want to go off on a tangent on Equinox, but they do a really good job at cultivating each location to the vibe and the needs of the community.
Okay.
So they're all different. Like the members are different, and they're encouraged to be like every location serves that purpose in a very sincere way. So when you go somewhere, it's like you could feel that like corporate like edginess, and you go to like another location like HB where it's like Huntington Beach where it's like you know, a little chill and like
That's
hey
cool.
like everybody's beautiful, all the things.
Yeah.
So everybody's very different. So I like to go to different locations that have different energies so I can show up sincerely as myself and see if I can relay this message that I want to deliver that goes beyond a cycle, a yoga, a strength, a stretch, a mobility, a run class, whatever I'm teaching. There's something else that I'm trying to spread. Like they don't know that. Like I tell them, and some of them pick it up, and some of them they like, you know, it rests on their shoulder and they leave. But it's like you walked in here for like a workout or a yoga session or whatever you came for, but open as much as you can, like we talked earlier about, like be vulnerable, be open. You chose this. You could easily be on the treadmill alone. You chose this. So I know you want community and I know you want connection. So drop the armor.
Yeah.
Like, let's connect.
Yeah.
So that's why I like going to all these different places. And they're like, how are you driving there and back? I'm like, there's also a ridiculous amount of podcasts, and books and audiobooks and all these things that I can consume while I'm driving, which is amazing to me. Like, I'm sure my car is like, no, thank you, but it's such a lovely experience for me. Like, I don't mind. I don't love driving, but it's a really good way to soak in information and knowledge and ideas and thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you been listening to podcasts for?
I don't know. I don't know when that started. I don't even know when the first one I started listening to. It might have been like a true crime one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you know how that goes. Like I didn't keep going true crime. I listened to like one Crime Junkie. And it literally is like a little junk food spot when I'm like, I need a reset from either like music or podcast or.
I get that too. Like you get this like over stimulus and you just kind of want to sit in silence for a bit and you're just like staring off.
Yes. Yeah.
What is that? Do you think that's like a new thing or do you think that's something that's always been with people? Because I feel like today we're just so overstimulated with Spotify, with YouTube, with TikTok, with Instagram. And there's a lot of times where I'm just driving and this happens like probably once a month for like a day or two, and I'm just like completely just sit in silence and I just stare.
I do that like every day.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, like I have to because of that reason. So I can't speak to like when I guess I can kind of speak to back in the day because I am like a generation that had like like we got the cell phones, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like in high school, like that's when like cell phones like you were cool if you had a pager,
Yeah.
and then you put stickers on it and it was amazing. Um, so I definitely think it's like overstimulation
Mm-hmm.
currently. There's so much. So if you don't make like a conscious effort, like for me, I try to do 7:30 to 7:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. I'm off tech.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want any tech on. Like I don't have a TV, but I try to be off my laptop, like none of it. So most people know it's like if you're texting me at 10:30 at night, you're not going to get anything till like the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think and I do that pretty much every day just because there's so much sound and music and conversation, and I try to listen to something every day that inspires me or at least connects me to what
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing, like something where I'm listening to, you know, whoever's speaking and I'm like, okay, cool, I am on that right path. Like I see that, like I'm doing that too. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Just that little bit. And sometimes it's like all day I'll listen to something. Sometimes it's just a little bit. Sometimes it's a sentence in a book. Sometimes I'll read for like an hour, 2 hours. So it just varies. It's just like a ritual of some type of consumption that
Mm-hmm.
helps with progression. And then I need the silence. Like it's almost like like it starts to vibrate in your head and you're like, I just need to chill
Yeah.
and just let everything kind of like release. I also meditate though. I don't know if you meditate.
I don't. I was doing it for a bit, but I guess I just didn't make the time for it. Something you do have to make the time
you have
for.
to make the time for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like trying to strengthen that practice and just not letting myself think like, well, that was a throwaway, because my mind never stopped. But
Mm-hmm.
that is part of why you're doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so it's like part of my every morning ritual, every single morning. And then the night one has been the struggle for me.
Okay. So you're trying to do twice a day for what, 10 minutes?
Like 20 to 30.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Like on the
Okay.
days where I don't have to teach, like obviously if I'm teaching at 6 a.m.,
Mm-hmm.
I will do like 15 to 20. But on the days where I don't, I love to try to venture into like 45 or longer.
Okay. That's a long time.
Yeah. And it honestly doesn't feel like that long. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll break it up.
Okay.
So I'll do like a begin, like let's say I'm doing 30 minutes, I'll do 10 minutes, 10 minutes of just breathing, and then 10 minutes of visualization, and then 10 minutes of chanting.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, so it kind of like, it's almost like warming up, you know, stretching, doing like a warm up, and then
Mm-hmm.
doing your workout. It's like the chanting is like the workout.
Yeah.
So you have to start with the warm up and the breathing and kind of clear space, and the visualization just makes it very clear. And then you'd go into the chanting.
Yeah.
So it just varies. Like sometimes I don't really go with any intention. I just try to clear. I try to like clear my brain.
Okay.
And that's like already the biggest thing, right? All you're thinking is inhale, exhale, exhale. I got that email that I got. No, come back.
Yeah.
Inhale, exhale. You got 3 classes or 4 classes today? What's today? Is today Thursday? Inhale. You know what I mean?
And the crazy thing is that that's how our mind is constantly running all day. And it's not until you take a second just to sit back and like sit in silence and think about it, or just like observe how much your mind is constantly running.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool. I mean, the mind is pretty interesting.
Oh,
Like
the
we have
mind is spectacular.
so much going on.
Yeah.
But then like we have this, for whatever reason, I think it's just evolution that we've become conscious and we're able to observe ourselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was gonna jump on about like psychedelics. You know, like the breathing technique, how you can like induce
yes,
like
and
some.
I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, and so it's breathing, and I know it's chanting as well.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's a certain breathing technique where it's like like sharp exhales.
Yep.
It like makes you dizzy.
Uh-huh.
And I've done it before, and it's phenomenal.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We did like this mini session one time with one of my instructors that I haven't seen in a very long time, and I don't even know where she even is in the world. But during one of our reopenings, or when we reopened after COVID, she did this amazing project like on the mountaintop somewhere in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy did the breathing portion, and it was mini. It was like for the recording purposes. And I was like, that's where it's at. Like that's where it's at. Like I get it that we have such easy access to like drink this, pop this pill, smoke this, do that to just get to that point. But we have that within us. That's the part that that a lot of people don't want to acknowledge or don't believe that it's true. And you really, really have that power within you. It's just you have to make it stronger. You have to repeat the behavior. You have to create, patterns. And even whatever it is, there's like tools to help you. But in the big scope of things, it's the releasing of the thinking. Like the mind's a powerful thing, but we tend to use it in the wrong way. And we tend to hold on to things that we don't need to hold on to. So it's like the power of our mind is spectacular, but it can be our detriment. Depends on how you want to use it. Yeah.
Do you think like psychedelics, whether it's like breathing, do you think it's like a hallucination, like the mind is just imagining stuff, or do you think it's like a doorway?
I think it's a doorway for sure. Yeah, 100%. Like, I think it's a doorway. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's a doorway to yourself. Like, that's really what it is. It's a doorway to yourself. It's a doorway to like your infinite possibilities. Like, you are an infinite source of energy. Like, if you really simplify things, we were put here by whatever means on this planet.
What do you think?
I mean, there's obviously like a higher power, and to be honest, I don't break my brain trying to figure it out because I don't think it's my job to figure it out. I don't think that's why I'm here. I think we're just here to experience. Like that's it.
Yep.
So it's like I'm not here to like get all the answers. I'm here to experience. And the less I hold on to things and the more I experience, the more I know. But I'm not like actively trying to solve all the problems, answer all the questions, because I also don't know all the questions. So if you just wake up every day like, here I am again. Like, let's see what happens today, because the agendas are cute, right? We have our calendar. It's color-coded. Everything's on time. We don't actually have any control over that. Like we think we do. Yeah. Right? We try to, but the reality is when you wake up, you're like, well, what's going to happen today? Who's going to get sick? Or what's going to happen here? Or we don't really, really know. So if you even detach from your own plans, I'm not here to answer the questions. I'm just here to have the experiences like this. Like when people said like, well, what's a podcast about? I was like, I have no idea. We'll see.
Did I send you a link of
You did.
Okay, cool.
I watched like a very short little bit of the father and daughter.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a vibe. And I didn't watch anymore because I didn't want any like preconceived notion. And I was like tempted. I was like, oh, he has a couple. I'll watch a couple. I was like, no, for what? Like, I'll watch it afterwards. But I'm like, I'm in regardless. Like, I want to do it. So I'm in regardless. And it just already looked like really cool and really relaxed. And like we were chatting fine. Like, I'm like, there's not going to be an expose. Like, I don't think there's going to be like, we're going to get the truth out of Chrys. Like, everybody knows. There's like not much that there's like people don't know. Yeah.
That podcast was super cool. It was a daughter, father duo. And it was like the same thing. Like, just certain people that you meet that like the energy is just like great, you know? And it's just like, oh, well, I don't want to miss out on that, because I meet a lot of people at the stores. Like a lot, and there's been a lot of times where I just, because I don't have social media, I just have it for the store, so I don't really have a way of staying in contact. So I was like, yeah, I should start a podcast and then, bring that energy in. So I met that father and daughter, and super cool. Like when I met them, it was just weird. Like we just vibed. It was just like, it was just like one of those moments you just like vibe.
I mean, they seem super chill. Like I'm actually looking forward to watching it afterwards. I just didn't want to get like I just wanted it to be just again, no expectations.
No expectations. Yeah. With the podcast, I just literally sit down. It's usually like super awkward at first because I'm like, so this is Chrys. Met her last week. How's it going, Chrys? That's usually what happens. After like the first 10 minutes, it ends up just like flowing because, but yeah, today's been pretty good. We're killing it, yo.
We forgot to start. Like,
I know.
There was a whole like 10 minutes of conversation.
That's a good start. That's a good start.
He was like, I should probably press record or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So how long have you been, oh, wait, no. Back to that question before we started. what did you want to be when you were a kid? I don't know why we were talking about something and it popped in my head.
I didn't have that. Like, I didn't have that idea. Like, who was I talking to the other day? I was talking to a friend. No, I was talking to, I hate the term dating
Mm.
so much, and I can't find another phrase for it. I didn't forget your question. I'm detouring. But if anybody knows a better word for dating, because I just don't feel like it fits what I do,
Mm.
because I'm not like dating. I feel like the correlation with dating is like you want a relationship.
You're hanging out.
And I hate that too, because it sounds like there's no
It sounds like too
like there's no intention. Like I feel
yeah.
like there's a little bit of rudeness in that. You know?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's more of, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like
Yeah, I just don't. I haven't found a word.
It's not like you're just dating just to date, and it's like I'm just having fun, whatever. But it's like you have a
Yeah.
connection with the individual,
Yeah.
but like you're not. It's like a situationship in a sense, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things I do that
But yeah.
I don't feel like there's a word for.
Yeah, yeah. Not just saying
And
that.
that's one of them. So, anyways, I went and met this woman, and she, we were talking about my stuff, and then we started talking about her stuff, and she was like, "Well, I knew that I wanted to be this, so then I did this, and I did this, and I was in medical school, and then I did this, and I realized I didn't want to be a doctor, so now she's like in pharmaceuticals or something like this." And so she's like now on this role, and it's like, okay, I know how to progress and climb in what she does now. And she's like, so yeah, very structured, very this. I'm like, I did not have any of that. Like, and part of that was being a young teenage. I was a teenage mom, so I had my son when I was 16. But as a kid, it wasn't. And I don't want to say envy, because I don't. It's not an envy thing, but I think it's so cool, and it seems so simple for people who say, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want a police officer, I want to be a firefighter, and then they do the things to be the thing.
Mm.
And then part of that thing is, I want to be married, I want to have these kids, I want to have this type of house, they have all these like parameters and vision and structure for what they feel that their life should look like. And I've never had that. Like, I've never had that. And I've never really questioned it. And now, like, at this stage of my life, and I'm like, yeah, you should have never had that. Because look at who you are. Like, the who I am now. And I'm like, you fought, not that I fought it, it just was never there for me to structure myself in that way. So even now, like, I don't feel structured in my life.
So do you mean like you live day to day? More of that attitude versus like kind of thinking of what the plan was?
Yeah, it's now that I like where I am now, being able to do something that I love, that I've done for so long, and feeling the progression of when I first started with fitness, and that like that whole lifestyle started with like my son, the birth of my son, and just eating healthier, making better decisions that were linked to him, being of service to the soul, and then saying, I got to practice what I preach. So then I was doing the same thing. And so thinking back from when I first started in the fitness industry, so much imposter syndrome, there's just like, and I have other things that I'm like focusing on. And the last few years, I've just been able to be exceptionally mindful and present. And boy, like I made one big uncomfortable decision about 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years in October. And it was an uncomfortable, gut-wrenching, world flip decision for a lot of people. And that's when the whole universe just went, finally. Finally you made the move. And after I made that and just move with like, yes, yes. If it's a yes, it's a yes. If it's a no, it's a no. If I'm passionate about it, yes. And I've always been like no obligation. Like I don't do things out of obligation. And that's how I raised my son. Like, don't do things out of obligation. You can always say why you don't want to do it. And if they have a reason why they want you to do it, hear them out. And maybe with more information, you'll change your mind. But don't do anything out of obligation. Horrible way to live your life, right? So the more I started just I would not do things out of obligation and almost have like that attitude of like, I'm a bad bitch, I don't do that. I'm not gonna do it. Savage, no. Like, and it was like fueled in that way. now it's fueled in the way of like, oh my gosh, this, I have so much passion towards this. I have so much love. I am drawn to doing this with that person. I don't even know why I'm driving out to the desert to meet this person, but I'm going and it feels right. I don't know why I'm flying to Costa Rica and driving through the jungle for 2 hours alone, but it feels right. And those decisions started coming after an uncomfortable change.
Yeah.
So it's just not that it's that I'm not structured or that I'm like living day by day, because I support myself and I have like a legit job and I do these things because you have to, like those are the minutia things that you have to do.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. But fortunately, I love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I can giggle and laugh at the silliness of mostly everything and really cherish the moments of connection that I have with people, that's where it all makes sense to me. Because everything else is like a giggle moment. Like the little things that irritate, or the person that's upset about something, the person that honks at you. And it's kind of like, oh, well, like that doesn't really matter, because it doesn't. So yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have that. Like I didn't have that, I want to be this when I grow up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to buy the house. I just never had it.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, I'm like, I'm going to do what I love. I'm going to keep doing what I love. And I need to make it bigger. And it's not for me. Like, I'm not trying to, have this many followers or be this kind of influencer. I don't want to be an influencer. I want to be a contributor. Like, I want to contribute to people's happiness and to people's joy and to people's like awakening and awareness and being mindful. Like, I want to contribute. And right now, my platform from doing that is through teaching. So I'm really grateful for that. It's through the instructors that I have that have a connection to me, which is difficult because I also hold boundaries really firm. That's always like a hard part for me because I want to be like all, and I'm like, but you can't, because it's still a corporation, right? This is not your own thing, not your own gig. You never know. So it's like I have to still be aware. It's this weird, and it's lovely. Like I chose this on purpose. Will it be there forever? No, maybe like in few years I'll be living on a mountaintop in the jungle, not having to ever wear shoes, and that'll be amazing. But for now, I just feel this major shift coming, and I don't know exactly what it is. I just know that what feels right is the push to teach and the push to connect. And when I say push, I don't mean like it's like a struggle every day. I just mean like this is doing something, like this is building, and there's like a reset and a refresh and a relax and a release, and then it's able to evolve again every single day. It's like every time I get in a room with people, I don't even know them. Like yesterday, the majority of the classes, I didn't know anybody in those rooms, which is why I go to other studios. Like I don't know one person in this room, versus like this morning, a full class for cycle, and I get to see these amazing humans every Saturday morning. I love both of those things. Like it just makes me feel like we're right where we're supposed to be. And guess what? When you're done with this and all those feelings, get the experience and then let it go. Because all you did right there is just allow yourself to be more present on the next experience, but just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Like the good and the bad. That was like that. When I learned that concept, I was like, God, that's really, really intelligent. Because how much do we love love? Like, how much do we love love?
I think I love it.
Like, it's just like, there's that feeling of like connection. Like, I know you have your girl, like a girlfriend, but like those moments where you're like, oh, this is like my person.
Yeah.
Like, I want this person. Like, I want this person in my life all the time. And then you're like trying to figure out like, now, okay, is it reciprocated? Is it there's all these questions that come in, right? But at the root of it, you're like, I want this person. That's usually our first indication. I want this person. And for like the last couple of years for me have been shifting out of that mentality.
Like needing something or a person?
Both.
So like, becoming like completely
fulfilled.
Fulfilled, yeah, fulfilling without a thing, a person. Yeah, I think that's the goal for everyone.
Yeah.
I think we really. I mean, it's hard because we're community based, so we definitely need that
Yeah.
thing. But when it comes to partners or to like things, especially in the States, I feel like we're very chasing of materialistic things. So it's hard to.
We're chasing of materialistic things and ownership, constant ownership. Because, like, I mean, let's take Italy, for example.
Okay.
They got some funky relationships.
Do they?
You know what I mean? They're just, like, open. Like,
I don't know. I haven't been to.
oh,
Italy.
well, that was my, and I'm sorry if anybody's Italian listening to this.
They're
like,
like,
that
hey,
one person.
they're eating a meatball. What
I
are you
know,
talking about?
I was going to say that too, but I was like, oh, let's just go for it.
Yeah,
They're like, what
fuck
do you
it.
mean?
Forget about it. I'm clicking off this podcast. This fucking girl with the purple hair. Hey, what's up with that? It's like a Jersey vibe.
Yeah, that was very Jersey.
I like Jersey.
I just think their idea of like romance, like the romanticizing everything, and like I don't know, I just seems like there was a lot of men that were married and they were perfectly fine with asking women on dates. You know, it's like
Did you live in Italy?
No, it was just like
Oh.
a visit, but it was like even like people I've met that have gone, it's like that's always the experience. And I shouldn't even say that, like, because I just find like even now in our culture, depending on like what circle community that you have, but if it's a pretty hippy dippy community, you're gonna find people that are in marriages who have had like group experiences or whatever you want to label it, like polyamorous and things like that. And I find that a lot of them that I've met, when they do it right, they're really happy. So I think to each his own, but I would like to not want to want anybody. I like the feeling of being able to have like spend time with somebody and say like I have so much love for you, and they can say it back and not feel like, oh, they have to say it back. It's just like this pure, like it's just an exchange of love. And you can go now. Like, and then when they leave, that's okay. And if they stay, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, like I'm going to feel appreciative and thankful, but I'm not going to be depleted or overwhelmed with it. Like I'm still going to be based with that self-fulfillment and that self-love. So that's been a really lovely path for me, and it hasn't happened with a ton of people because they also have to feel self-fulfillment as well.
Yeah.
Because when you feel that self-fulfillment, you can say I love you to someone because you don't feel vulnerable. Technically you are being vulnerable, but you're not afraid of it because it's not going to take away from you. You can just say it because you feel it and let it go. You make me happy. It doesn't take away and I'm always wondering, and a lot of times you don't get answers when people lose interest or like fade away or don't respond. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, again, it doesn't affect me either way. And this is platonic or, intimate. But there always is that like wonder of I wonder where their head is. And it's not because I necessarily want answers. I'm just curious because, again, the mind. Like, was it something I said? Was it something you felt? And I don't do it in a way where I'm like spinning, where I'm like, oh my God, why? I do it in a general.
Yeah, you're just curious. You're
like that idea of like, why do we do what we do? It's so interesting because I ask myself all the time, why do you do what you do? Why did you cut off that person? I'm like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. It just felt right.
What has like what steps are you taking and have you taken to get closer to that self-fulfillment? Is it the meditation?
Yeah, reading for sure. So trying to consume as much as possible. And even that was a weird journey a little bit. Even starting to consume podcasts and books. And it was, I think, Whitney Cummings and Jay Shetty they were talking about his book, and she started talking about how she reads podcasts or docuseries and all these things. And I don't want to misquote it, but she said something to the effect of, like, I feel like a phony, like I'm just doing this so that I can like know stuff to like talk about with these people that are smart, and I don't feel like I'm smart. And so when she started saying that, I was like, I really relate to that, because sometimes I'll be in a room, or this I used to be in a room, and I still find myself in rooms with people, and I'm like, why am I in this room?
Really?
But then I immediately say, like, I'm so happy to be here. Like, that's it. Like, I'm happy to be here. What the decisions that I've made to allow me to be here, like, I'm happy to be here. There's always that little bit, and it's because I just hold people in high esteem. Like, I appreciate them so much. And when you're surrounded by highly intelligent or highly successful people, less and less so now, like the more work that I'm doing. But initially, like, you look around and you're like, okay, that's a really powerful attorney. She's like a neurosurgeon. I think that's like a model. Like, you know what I mean?
This is like the worker classes, or like this is something
Just in life, like,
okay.
like being like randomly being at a party because I'll say yes to something and not ask questions, like randomly wandering in, meeting somebody, walking out of EDC and then ending up at a penthouse party like in Orlando by myself with a room, like people that are just gorgeous and kind and funny and intelligent and successful. And I'm like, why am I? No, this you belong here. You belong here. They're good. Yeah. So just having like those moments of wow, like I'm just happy to be here. And that's what I just say all the time. I'm like, I'm just happy to be here. I went on a tangent. We were on something else, and I veered off. I do that a lot.
No, that's okay. I do that too.
Oh, Whitney Cummings.
Whitney Cummings and
Yes. You asked me what I do to
steps towards.
Yes, yeah. So she says this, and I was like, yeah, like I really relate to that. And so then Jay Shetty responds with something to the effect of saying, well, why should you feel bad about that? You're literally trying to learn more things to contribute to conversations and interactions and experiences with people. And I'm like, yeah, that is what I'm doing. Like, he's talking to her, but I related to that so much because I almost felt fraudulent to a certain extent versus people who have been consuming literature for so long. Like, I've been working since I was 15. So for people who have gone to university and continued education and have all these degrees, I'm kind of like, am I fraudulent for listening to this or reading this now, or just all these ideas? And then once he said that the way he said it, I'm like, yeah, I'm actually reading, like trying to ingest this information, yes, for myself, but if I believe in it, then I'm going to discuss it with other people. And if you're around people who are kind of like wanting to do the same thing, those conversations are just going to like get really lovely and entangled and create like this massive, I just feel like this like synergetic, like pulsing of information exchange. So that was like a shift for me. So the reading and learning different ways to read. I dated this one guy who would read like multiple books at once. And that was never a thing for me. And again, it's because I didn't go to university. I didn't like have all these multiple subjects that you had to read all these books and then write papers on. So I'm assuming that's maybe where he got the habit. But he would read something from like an anime book to like deep thought, transcend like all this like deep mental stuff to like Zen, like very spiritual, and then something just other random something, like not even like intertwined in any way, but very different like streams of thought. And he was the first one that introduced me to that. So then I started doing that. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I like that. And then I heard on somewhere else that they leave the books open. Like, instead of like putting like whatever they're reading, like they'll leave it open. So that's actually been really cool for me too. It's like just constantly leaving it open. And they're like, some days you walk by, you read one sentence and you're like, that did something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like it just hits in a certain way. So that's been really helpful. And then community, like knowing, I tend to, like I said, I like being uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you find this discomfort, you find this problem. I like to almost like visualize it like an orb. And it's kind of like see through or different colors, and you turn it and you look at it and you find like resolution, right? You go through in hardship, someone's mean to you, whatever it is, you're like, that sucked. There's a message in here. Like for me, there's always a message. And when I figure it out, then I share it. Like I share it in a way that is to my the best of my ability, understandable to whoever's in front of me in a room, whatever I'm teaching. Um, so I share out like the lesson in that way. And I lost my train of thought. But oh, and then there's some people that you don't have to clean it up. Like you can just talk like a weirdo. Like I can talk like a weirdo and they can talk like a weirdo. And then we're
Mm-hmm.
both just talking about weirdos, about like the non-existence and the this and the that, and
Yeah.
you know how like the different planes of reality and all these things, and those are really fun.
Yeah.
So it's like having the community that's going to challenge you in different ways. Like some of the people I know are very structured and they have like logical contributions. Some are very very spiritual and woo woo, and that really contributes. So you know, today I ran into this amazing amazing wonderful soul. Her name is Caro, and she's like, it's expensive in Spanish. But she's just like this really dope chick that I met through Equinox. And I hadn't seen her for a while. And I'm walking out of class and she's like chilling and like sitting on the bench. I was like, where have you been? And just like from 0 to 100, we just started like zoo, 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 zoo. And I was like, I love when I could just be weird with people.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps. It's like the community that you build around you, the people that you spend time with. Because mostly everybody that knows or that we try to go out, again going back to the dating thing, we got to find a word for that. It's really hard for me to like go out. Like I wouldn't go out tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be leaving my house. This
This is it. Yeah.
Like this is an experience, you know. So if someone's like, oh, let's hang out, let's go like grab a drink, and I'm like, that's not gonna elevate me, or like I can't, like that's.
Did you get to do that like in the past? Like you already experienced it, or it's just never really been your thing?
It's never been my thing. But again, it's like this bizarro world. And I'm sure there's many people who have lived a life like I've lived, or maybe not. I'm sure there is, similar at least. But having like a kid at 16, I've just never been into like dating,
Mm.
you know, so I've never really done that. Like, I don't like that pursuit. Like, I wasn't into like cliques, or it just all felt very forced to me, even from like high school. Like,
Wait, what do you mean date? Like, I mean, even going out with friends, like bars or clubs.
yeah,
Even that wasn't.
like it wasn't like, oh, I have to do this.
Mm.
Like I like, you know, that consistent, like, oh, it's Friday night, Saturday night,
Yeah.
Sunday brunch. Like I'm like no.
But have you had fun like at the bars or clubs?
Yeah, like there was
Yeah.
a time in my life, like,
Okay.
but I always had a partner.
Okay.
So it's like I didn't have to worry about like this exchange. Like I had my person.
Yep. That's
you
the best
know?
way to go.
And
about
I really
it.
and I loved that person. So I never understood when they're like girls' night. Like I'm like, but I want to actually hang out with this person.
Yeah, there we go. That's the right way to do it.
That's the way I never
think-
understood that.
I've talked to like couples and they're like, no, like we have girls' nights, or like he goes with the guys. I'm like, I don't know if it's just me and my girl, but like we just really like each other and we want to go out with each other. So
Go figure.
but I think there's partly like insecurity a little bit in that, because I would feel weird if she did go out with all her friends.
Yeah.
I'd be like, especially like at a club, like why, you know? But at the same time, it's like, it's a whole little debate in my head. But like at the same
Yeah.
time, I know that she would be like, no, I don't want to go out with them. I'd rather just like either have you come or just stay home with you. So it's like that
Yeah.
vibe when you really connect with someone, or maybe it's just like insecurity. I don't know.
I mean, part of it is that I never did that because I've never had like a girl gang, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was a mom, like I had that shit to do. So I could see how, like, let's say, you know, you start dating someone who has always had like, these are my boys, these are my girls, and they've always hung out. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like almost having to adapt to that if that's still part of like their community. There's something that like is maybe special that happens with that group of people,
That's true.
but it will still make you feel a certain type of way,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, like, well, what's happening or what's, so it's like all that communication has to be done. So my last relationship was 13 years. So that's like 20s into 30s and 13 years where you're not, out with the girls. And I just was never, it was never my thing. Like even 19 and early 20s and being out, like I went out, but if I didn't go out, I was fine.
Yeah.
And it just, I was always there. Like it was just always like, do you want to go blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure. Like, and especially if it's like you're not waiting in line and you're just going straight in, all those things. Like, but it was never anything I wanted to chase. Like, I didn't want to work to be on someone's list. I didn't want to work to know the dude at the door. Like, I just didn't, I had no desire to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it all stemmed from like that external judgment of your value.
Explain that.
Okay, so I didn't know it at the time, but now I can, and for a while, like it's just that you're not getting in this place or hanging out with these people for the quality of the soul that you have.
Okay.
It's because how you look and how much fun you are and how much like what you're bringing to that to that event or that party.
Yeah. No,
You
I
know?
100%. So I never liked bars or clubs. I would
Yeah.
go just for fun, or if I had like a partner, I'd just go and it'd be a good time. But for the most part, I like just hanging out with my buddies and getting like super
Yeah.
drunk with them, or like, doing psychedelics, or just, spending that guy time. But I always had that view as well when it came to bars and clubs, was because like, especially when you're single, it's so dumb because you're first,
Yeah.
especially as a guy. And I've said this before on the podcast. I think it's very dumb to be going to bars and clubs to go like trying to pick up chicks and stuff as a guy, because it's just like you're wasting your time. Like you could be like the best guy, you get any girl, but it's just still, it's like, why? I don't know. It can be fun, but it's just like I'd rather go with an individual and have a good time. And especially because like the whole club and bar scene, it's like based off looks. It's based off,
Yeah.
especially for guys, like money. If you go into a club, like, can you buy a bottle? Do you have a table? Like, then you're the most. It's all a status game. It's just like, this is so like, it's so primitive.
Yeah.
It's like the 21st century. It's our little mating area where people just meet to hook up and stuff. And it's just, it's its own thing. And I think it's pretty interesting. So some people, they like it. They like doing the whole hookup scene. They like meeting people there. But for me, it was always like, this is kind of, I see through it. This is kind of silly.
Yeah.
Like but now I've kind of like trying to kind of change my views, because I've been going with like my girlfriend and just going with like the right people. And then now it's like way more fun, because it's no longer like,
Yeah.
oh wait, no, now we're like the people that's going and just having a good time. And like,
Yes.
it's not about any of that. So
That's super fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I always went out.
Yeah.
Like I had my person, or even if I had like my girl, but it wasn't like this squad of, and there was a couple times like we did some massive group like parties in Palm Springs and
Like an Airbnb or
Vegas.
something, or
No, like for one of my birthdays, like we rented out an entire hotel for like 3 days.
like the whole hotel?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, what?
Like we used to do these massive events. Like my ex was phenomenal at like executing my ideas.
Okay.
So like if I had an idea, like this one, for example, was for my birthday, and it's not like, cause I'm like, oh, it's my birthday. I'm like, well, I feel like I should do something, because that's like, I had like a good amount of clients at that time, and they all knew each other, and they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was like, all right, we'll just go big. We're going to do like a big, and I had like classes, poolside, like a DJ, and it was just like all like every day there was like classes, and then
Damn.
yeah. And then like one of the years we did like a party bus to Vegas. Another year we didn't party bus, but there was like maybe 20 or so of us that went to Vegas.
That's a good time.
Yeah. So, and then one year I did an Iron Girl, which is like a mini triathlon. And there was like, I don't know, 6 or 8 like females, like six or 8 girls that did the triathlon. And then like a group more people went just to support and party. So it was in like Henderson, like close to Vegas.
Okay.
So we got a house and we were all out there. Then we all went out, and it was super fun. But it wasn't like I wouldn't be able to sustain doing that every Friday, Saturday night. Being like, when driving down the street right now, I'm just like, wow, I like forget, because I'm not out here. Like if you catch me out here, it's gonna be on, what day was that? Like a Thursday.
Yeah, I think it was
like a Wednesday or Thursday,
I think it was a Wednesday.
like at 1.
It was on a hump day, like
Yes.
the
Like
slowest day of the week. You're just like
exactly.
strolling around. Hey, how's it going?
That's when you're gonna catch me in these streets, because that's when like it's just there's more openness of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I've done it. That's the difference, is like where I'm like, I don't see a problem with it. Like if that's where you are, if you're happy, then be happy. But I know for sure that's not gonna make me happy. Like it's just not. I don't want to watch the sports. I don't like want to hear the noise. I don't want to smell the food. I don't want to hear like the conversations, especially when they're on repeat.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
that,
like, especially at like bars and clubs.
yeah,
it's just
that
very
drunk yes.
just very bland, shallow.
Yeah.
Like, how's it going? Oh yeah, that's terrible.
I mean, it's the same thing with dating apps. Well, I only know of one app. I've only been on one app that I started in September.
Okay.
And I still strongly view it as like a social experiment, because it feels that way. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it. You know, like I don't know what like people actually want. I don't think they know what they actually want. I don't know if I know what I actually want.
Yeah.
So it's just these like chance encounters. And for me, it's just like, well, how am I feeling today? That's going to affect my response, or how I receive like a message from someone.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. But every time I've like actually met somebody, I'm like, oh, well, there's like a little something to learn. Like I've never had anything where I'm like, it's the end of the world. It's the biggest mistake of my life. It just sits there. And I don't know what to do with it. I don't really understand it. And anybody who finds like love on there, I'm like, that's great. That's really awesome for you. I'm super transparent. So I just kind of say it how it is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to fit into anybody's mold, but I don't know what people want. And I don't even try to figure it out.
Especially because, I mean, if you're on this whole journey of like self-growth and independence, and I feel like you're very self-aware.
Yeah.
You get like a bundle of people, especially on apps, are just kind of just going with the flow, you know? So that's the thing with dating. And
it's so everywhere. Like it'll be like a 20-year-old boy, and then it'll be like a 62-year-old dude.
Well, you can set limits, you know.
There is limits.
Oh, okay.
And they still are on there. Like I rechecked my limits, and I was like, I definitely put I even put like a height like preference.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. I'm like, he's 5'5", like that. No, no offense. Again, if you're Italian and 5'5",
hey, I'm tuning out again. I came back, gave the purple hair girl again a chance, and I'm out of here. Come on, there's some short kings out there. You gotta give them some loving.
They super are great. I love that for them. But when you're working like with this type of technology, that's just what happens. And when I observed that too, I was like, hey, that's just what happens.
Okay.
Like if 5'5" Tony from Jersey hits me up on the beach and has a sparkling personality, I might be into that short king. I don't know.
There we go. Yeah.
But when you're, you know what I mean? But that's like real life. You know, that's in-person energy.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's the thing with apps is that
Tony's going to hit me up on Hinge.
It's like, bro, 5'5's left, you know? So that's the thing is like with apps, it's so superficial, right? It's super superficial. But like that same guy, he's not a 10, but he comes up to you and he's 5'5", and he's Italian. He's like, hey.
I'm telling you, might have that swag. I'm into some swag. I'm into some energy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But you know what my filter is? Like the root of it all is when they pop up, right? Like the face pops up. I'm like, do I want that face in my face?
Okay.
That's literally what I say.
I want that face in my
and it's so like everybody has your reaction. Everybody.
I'm Tony. That's why he's gonna go up to you.
Yes. So everybody has that reaction that you're having. When I said that to myself for the first time, I'm like, yeah. I felt like it was so like I'm like, yeah, it's very simple. Like, do I want that face in my face?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like really think about that. Like, and I don't know if you and your girlfriend are at this stage now, or have ever been at this stage where you're laying in bed and your faces are like right next to each other, and you're basically breathing the same air, and you're like, I never want to leave from this place. And it's like the most magical place, and their face is in your face, and your face is in their face.
Yeah.
That's what I think about.
Okay.
And so it takes like I'm reading Rick Rubin's book right now, and he's like, you like what you like. Why do you overthink it?
Mm-hmm.
If it's cold, it's cold. If it's hot, it's hot. Like it is what it is. So I just make it that simple. Where I was like, do I want that face in my face? No. Why are you gonna convince yourself?
Yeah.
You know, like because there's something about that immediateness.
I guess that makes me a terrible person because I was always like that. I was like, ew, ew, ew.
Well, I just think of like the intimacy
Okay.
of, you know, the face in my face. Like it's just like that. Like it's just like it's really I've only had very few people because I always think of like when the love kind of fades, you know, because I've had like obviously at a certain point I'm like I don't want your face in my face anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And this used to be a person that I couldn't get enough of their face in my face.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was gonna ask you
Yeah.
about relationships and about dating. I love this topic. I think it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, dating.
I want to find another word for it. I feel like one doesn't exist.
Soul bonding. How about that?
Oh, that feels like a lot. Like if I'm just meeting someone off a Hinge for like a non-alcoholic beverage, and I was like, okay, I'll meet you for a soul bonding experience.
Yes, I love that though. That's so sick. Do you watch Rick and Morty?
I have one of the guys I dated was super into Rick and
Okay,
Morty.
Rick and
Yeah.
Morty's awesome.
Yeah.
There's an episode where it's like a dragon, and like in order to like bond with the dragon, you do like a soul bond. So like they float up and they're just bonding. But I don't know. For
Be
me,
like, do you want to go on a date? I was like, well, if it's a soul bond.
if someone said that to me, I'd be like, yo, this chick is dope. This chick is dope. See, that's the thing. I think with dating is that people take it so seriously.
Yeah.
LA is a little more like, you know, not as conservative. They're just kind of going with the flow as well. But like, still, I think dating or soul bonding should just be fun. That's how I've always taken the approach. Just being completely honest from the start, what your intentions are. Obviously, not like, hello, I want this. No, like just feel it out, feel the vibe. And if the energy's good, the energy's good. And then you don't have to put any title, any nothing. It's not dating, it's not nothing. You're just chilling.
Yeah, I think what the part that I get a little sticky on is I do believe that time is our most valuable like currency.
Okay.
It's a hot commodity, and I hold value in what I can contribute in someone's life. So I struggle with people not designating time, and that's on them, right? Like if they want to do a phone call, I'm like, okay, I'm free at 9:30. At 9:30, I'm not going to be driving. I'm not going to be around other people. I'm not going to be watching TV. I'm giving you this time. And most people are not like that. They're not. They treat it, and it's not because, oh, I want to see if you're my husband. Barf. No, like that's not what I want at all. But this is an opportunity for an experience, and I want to be fully present. So when people they don't reciprocate, or they don't move in that same way, I just say okay, but I'm immediately turned off by that. Like, and I also don't want to explain it to them.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not really super into being people's teachers. So, and like now going back to like a 20-something-year-old, like I'm like, I don't really want to be someone's teacher. Not that all young people like are in that state, but the ones that I've encountered kind of are.
Okay.
Where I get how some women would want to be that for people. Like that works for them. It feeds something for them.
Can you explain it one more time?
So like we'll say dude, like I'll stick with the guy instead of saying like a girl, but
Okay.
like a young dude. Like I've hung out with guys that are in their early 20s, which is trippy because my son's gonna be 25. And like I find people in general very interesting, which is why I don't really have an age gap. Like I don't care about the age difference, because I've also met people in their 50s and 60s who are hot messes, it's almost nice to have someone who's in their 20s and educated and in their career and passionate and all those things. But at a certain point, I feel like they want to learn a lot from me. And it's an interesting dynamic, because that's what I do for a living. And I don't want to be your guide necessarily. So I'm also figuring out like, okay, well, we can we can hang out, but how much this is a little draining for me. Like,
So it's basically like, I don't want to be your mom.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what I like talking about dynamics and dating and stuff.
And that, but also that could be done with like older dudes too, or older people, older women, older men, younger men, anybody. I have to feel like I need to be their mom.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's just say that. I don't know why I put it. Oh my gosh, poor Tony, who's 5'5", who's 23.
He's in his mother's basement right now.
I'm so
He's
sorry,
like,
Tony.
I came back a third fucking time to give this purple hair girl a chance, and she fucking disrespects me. Mom, make me a hot pocket. I'm done.
Done with the sauce. You know I like the extra sauce on my hot pocket, Ma.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to dating as a guy and girls, and not, I feel like it's weird to say now because it's always like feminism and like, you know, we're in LA and it's so like, much. Come on, like equals. And I yes, wait, I don't even know why I said that. Yes, we're equals. But what I was gonna say was when it comes to dating, like the
At
dynamics.
least you didn't say equals.
Yeah. All right, let me rephrase it.
He gave a fist. At least you were like, and we're equal.
But when it comes to dating, I think it's like the guy has their role, and to me, I think the guy is supposed to lead, not complain, not try and like treat their girl as like their mommy and be like, hey, like this is what happened today, and you know you can like express and stuff. But I think when it comes to guys, it's like leading that relationship and leading and being that rock. And being like, yo, we got this. Like, even if it's not good, being like, yo, like, we're good. Like, this is going to work out. And then girls is more of like a following in a sense of like putting that, like the assurance, is that the word? Putting that, that worry onto them. Onto them.
Like they want to feel safe.
Yeah. That security.
Yeah.
Having that security.
I would prefer, I definitely live on more of a masculine energy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's another thing. That's super cool. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But is that feminine and masculinity thing.
Yeah.
And that like we're all different in that sense too. That there's guys that love to be in their feminine.
Yeah.
There's girls that love to be in their masculine. And those roles work.
Yes.
You know, so not everything is, you know, fits every whatever, but like that's cool. So sorry.
Yeah. No. So I think everybody should have the ability to feel both of those things, to be able to be soft and sensitive, whether you're male or female, not masculine or feminine, but male or female, to be able to feel soft and sensitive and be able to feel fierce and strong.
Yeah.
Like you should ideally, and if we're talking about being with a partner, be able to be both of those things. So last week, the night before, like, you know, on Thursday, I had friends that came over, and we did like,
just pull the mic.
Oh yeah, and we did our like little journey thing. Not little journey.
Yeah,
we went places.
Yeah.
But one of my friends that was there, we were talking about his wife. And I haven't met her. She's like the myth, the legend, right? She sounds amazing. Like she sounds like a very fierce. And I never even asked. Like the first time I was like in their house, like she wasn't there. She was arriving, and my friend was like, everybody was like, she's coming, like this like energy of like she's gonna arrive.
Oh wow.
Right. And then we were heading out to dinner. So like whatever happened, whatever, I'm gone. So we're talking about this woman, his wife, the mother of his child, and how like, and I bring that up, and they're like, well, yeah, we don't want to get fucking yelled at. And then so I thought, I'm like, you know, just because we as women can be that woman and be strong and fierce and mean and bitchy and get shit done, that doesn't mean we actually want to be that woman.
Mm-hmm.
At least not forever. And like I told him, I was like, I was that woman. Like and she's still here. Like it's still part of who I am, but I was that woman, and I was not very kind, and I was definitely not mindful. I was like, I'm a mom, I'm like this person's partner. Like when I would be coming home, like that was the same energy. Like make sure it's clean. Everybody scatter, like she's coming home, right? And I'm like, once you're not in that energy, because I didn't know it at the time. Once I wasn't in that energy and I am where I am now, it feels really good not to have to be that person.
Mm.
Like, just because you have the ability to rise up and be what you have to be or what you think you have to be to just get through this portion of your life doesn't mean like you always want to be there. So if you have a partner that keeps you there and you're just always like having to like kind of fight back, and this is now your dynamic, you can't be soft and vulnerable and sweet.
So you're saying during that time you adopted a masculine.
I mean, I always have been. I feel like, you're kind of, I don't want to say you're born a certain way, but I feel like I was born a certain way. And I was like, I've always lived like in a leadership personality. Like even my mom was like, I don't know why you're the way you are, but you've always been like that. Like you've always led, you've always wanted, like you've always knew what you liked and you did what you did and you wanted, and you, whatever, if you wanted to do it, you were going to do it. I've just always been that way. But I just mean having to always be strong. It's a lot and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And it's very draining on like your spirit and your soul. So when I hear like what he was saying about his wife, and he loves her very much and he like admires her and speaks very highly of her, but they're both fierce. Like he's also fierce. He's a lot. Right? I'm like, so I was like, so he's saying these things, right? He's like, I'm the best thing that ever happened to her. And then I go, there's a question. Do you think she would say the exact same thing? He's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? So they're very aware of each other. But just because you can be this person, like, isn't it, if you're going to choose to be in a partnership, wouldn't it be amazing to have a partner that allows you to blossom and open into all aspects? Because I don't know the answer to this. So my last relationship, my 13-year relationship, I don't really have answers to why it ended. And if he ever, for whatever strange reason, ever listens to this, he's going to be like, how do you not know? But I don't. Like, I don't have all the answers. I don't even have clarity of how it ended. But as I think back, not to dwell, but on to grow and learn from it, I do feel like he lived for 13 years with a ton of that pressure that you just mentioned, to be the provider, to provide security and safety, and, so that the woman doesn't have to worry about those things. And all along, like, he didn't really have to, like, yes, but we both should have been doing that. And we both were. I was just getting tougher and tougher. And he was just like, I feel like maybe started at a certain point, it was just like a struggle to survive.
And then for you, you were saying that you had to adopt this masculine, or you always had this masculine frame, but like for you, you had a lot of this energy that you were penting up or having to do. And then you're saying after now being out of it, you feel like relieved, you feel like,
yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to get at, is that like, because I was just kind of opening up the scene of like, for when I'm dating someone, it's like having them completely open up, and as well as myself, I'm not taking the old school approach of, I'm a guy, I don't cry, because I cry. I mean, like, not daily, but like, there's times where I cry, and it's just, it feels good. It's like a relief, like there's times where it feels great. Where it's just so overwhelming, so stressful, and like sometimes it just happens and it's not like I'm bawling, it's just like whatever. But basically, yes, being able to experience both, but I think still, like, for myself, it's like being able to completely open up a person and have them just act like a kid, and like have that security with me, not me being like, I'm gonna take care of us. Like if they have to, like, like if I'm struggling and like they have to work too and they have to like be a little more masculine, but at the end of the day, it's still being that masculine center of like, of them being sure of me, I guess. I'm kind of getting lost in my words, but I do know what you're saying.
Do you think you need reassurance?
In what sense?
Like that behavior that you have to exhibit, like that masculinity, do you feel like you need to create that to have like that reassurance of your value in the relationship? It like kind of goes back to that need.
Mm-hmm. Do I need that reassurance?
Like needing to be needed.
No, I think it's more of like the feeling that that it gives me, like if that makes sense. It's like I like it when a girl's very like feminine.
Mm-hmm.
I like that feminine energy. I love it. And then I like that I supply that masculinity in that dynamic, but it's not like, so I guess I don't know if it's reassurance. It's just like a dynamic of like, this is what I like in
Yeah.
relationships, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
But it's not an approach of dating of like I said before, where it's, I am the guy. I do not cry. I will never have you pay for a date. Like, I will, like, I will
Yeah.
fight till our death. It's not that. It's more of, yeah, I guess it's just a preference in dating, if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a type.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if somebody tells me I really love like tiny petite girls with blonde hair, and I'm like, I'm not your girl. Like I'm not like I like a girl who cooks and is soft spoken. It's like I'm not your girl.
Yeah, but I think it's also like a lot of girls, I mean, I can't generalize, but I feel like a lot of people would feel comfortable like when they have that, like when like I can't, I'm not a girl, I can't speak for girls, but isn't it like when you find someone that just completely opens you up, you just feel like feminine, like you just feel like really
Well, so I always feel like that within myself. What I tell people, and I'll give an example. So, I met this guy, and like we were gonna hook up, and I had to be very clear with him. It was a very interesting circumstance. This goes back to like the ending up at a penthouse party in Orlando with beautiful people. And again, if anybody hears this story, I'm like, well, you can put it in the comments. I don't know. Tell your side on the comments. But there's just all these beautiful people and like availability for different options. And I like with different like, okay, do I kind of like put more attention to this guy? Is he the one I'm going to choose? Am I going to choose this person? Do you two come as a pair? Like, you know what I mean? Like trying to make a decision, like who am I going to spend the night with, if anybody? So I ended up choosing this one person. And by this point of the night or morning, I should say, I think it was like 4 a.m. at this point. I don't drink. So like I wasn't drinking, he was still drinking. And I just like was trying to make it very clear to him because he was like, well, if you're not sure, you don't have to. I was like, I'm sure. Like, I know what I want. Here's my suggestion to you. I suggest to you that you are as present and open and aware as possible for our time together. Because it could be really, really great. Like, I don't need you in my life forever. I'm about to fly back to Cali in about 8 hours.
okay.
And it was less. Like, I actually moved my flight. So as we're walking like from the party like to his place, it was like just that perfect temperature, like 4 a.m. There's still people like kind of like half naked from EDC, like wandering the streets, and like with the fresh air. And now we're not at the party. There's no more music. There's no more people. And I'm just explaining to him, like, this is not me tooting my own horn. This is me knowing my own value. And I just need you to be open. And he was like, yeah. I was like, no, I know you don't get it. Like, I know we don't live like the same lives, but I was like, I just need you to be open. Because the more open you are to this experience, like, nothing's going to happen to you. I'm not going to judge you. Just be completely open and vulnerable. And this night will be so much better. The experience will be so much better. And he seemed to like grasp it. And we had this amazing night together. But it's just explain, like, I don't need that person to open me up. I just need them not to create boundaries that make me offer less. That's the biggest thing for me, because I'm fully open. I'm fully open. So if someone's going to come into my world or I'm going to share time with somebody, I don't need somebody coming in that's going to make me close. Like at this point in my life, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I need someone who is not only going to allow me to stay opened and blossomed, completely vulnerable, because I'm down for that. I already said I like being uncomfortable, but have the awareness to be open because I would like to experience you as much as possible. So just articulating that and hoping they get it. And sometimes they don't get it right away. And I'll literally get like a text, a call, a DM, or something like months down the line. Like, you're a really amazing person. I was like, I know. I know. Like, that's what I try to tell you. Like, that's what I was trying to tell you. But I mean, thank you. I still appreciate that. Like that's great. But just articulating that. So I don't like, and when I say like allow, like you said, allowing you to be open, that's in like a relationship intimate way.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was gonna say.
Yes, so that's in that relationship intimate way. Now with community and people and friends, now those like when I view them as, how can I expand more? That's where like the exchange of information and ideas and, concepts of living really factor into my growth and how I can grow more. But as far as being open, I feel very open. And sometimes like a lot, like, I had one of she just recently resigned, but she was like one of my supervisors, and we were talking, and she was like, so how's like the love life? And I was like, it's like there, like I don't know, like nothing's really happening. And I tried to explain to her that the few that seem to have potential, like maybe we're going to try to put more effort into like seeing where this can go. Like the one or two where that has happened, I'm like, okay, cool. And like I tell, like, we'll start talking about stuff, and I'm like, well, this is like some of my stuff. Like these are the habits that I am now working to change, that I've realized, because now I've been single for like a while, and I decided to be single because I'm like, I need to be single for a while. Like I'm kind of like a dick. Like I'm not great at this. Like I'm destroying people. I'm tearing them down, which is a horrible way to be to someone that you love. Right. So I took that separation, and then just finding like habits that are rooted from when you're like a kid, of how you deal with uncomfortable situations or arguments or insecurities. Right. And so I literally will put it on the table for them. So one of my habits is, if I get uncomfortable or, and I haven't put it into action yet, right? Since I've been trying to be more mindful and present, but my go-to was just separating myself.
Like avoidant?
I wouldn't even say avoidant, but possibly. I would literally just, not that I don't think the situation's there, but the way I explained it to the last person I was with after I ended the relationship was, it's like when your house is messy and you don't want them to see the messy house, so you like close the door, you won't let them in the house while you're cleaning up. Like you're gonna clean up, you don't like, okay, they're outside the door, yeah, and you're like, they're like knocking on the door, like let me in, and you're like cleaning up your mess, but it's an emotional mess.
Okay.
And I'm trying to clean it up alone instead of bringing my partner in.
I see.
And saying, this is how I'm feeling. Now, in theory, I feel like I'm at that place, but I have not had a partner to actually put it into practice to see if so these people that I'm like, we're like now making this agreement, like, okay, let's try. That's the one, like, that's something that I tell them. So I have this tendency of doing this. I haven't put into practice, but I feel like it's fair that that this is kind of like a behavior that I have now realized I've had in my life since I was like maybe 2, right? Anytime there was like an argument, with the parental figure or with the cousin, it would just be like separate and then never actually address the issue. So now this is decades of, no conflict, no resolution.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's not conflict resolution. It's no conflict, no resolution, and just reemerge like nothing's happening. So like I had one guy that was like, I don't think I can be there for that. And I'm like, okay. So
Wow, he just told you straight up?
Yeah, like it was something else. Like he got sick or something, and like I don't know what he wanted from him being sick. I don't know. Like I really didn't put a lot of thought about it. I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Like I wasn't really attached to this anyways.
Yeah.
But to circle back to my supervisor asking me that question, and she just looks at me and like tilts her head, and she's like, why are you like selling yourself short? Like you're literally telling these people what's wrong with you. And in my mind, and I still stand by what I'm doing until somebody explains it to me in a way that I'm like, okay, I'm wrong. I feel like it's fair. Like if I started dating a guy and he was like, hey, I've been single for 2 years. This relationship ended this way. I went to therapy. I found that I do this when I feel uncomfortable or insecure. I need a partner that can be able to say, hey, you're doing that. And then this is like the plan to resolve it or work through it. I'd rather have that than them trying to still work it out on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my preference. So I didn't see it as like, oh, here's a list of all the things that suck about me.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's a thing. And I haven't had the opportunity to see it play out.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's being honest. I think it depends on how early you're saying it. Like if it's the second date. Or
I
like
mean, it was like when we decided, like, let's put effort into this.
Okay. So it's like a mutual thing. I'm assuming. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Like we had literally had the like we were missing each other. Like we were trying to get together. I got really sick. I went out there. We had a great night. We hung out. And then like we kind of were like missing calls and a lot of time lapsed. And then like we reconnected. Like there wasn't a lot of like effort, but we really dug each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, no, I was like really feeling you too, but I didn't think you were. And he's like, I didn't think you. It was like all of that, right?
Yeah.
And so then we just decided like, well, no, let's put effort into it. And then he even asked like the question because he's out in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I know this is obviously not tomorrow or next month or even anytime soon, but we are 2 hours away. Like, how do you feel about that? And I'm like, well, I don't need you here every morning. You know, like that's the reality. Like, I don't need you here, but I'm also not tied down to where I live. Like, there's a reason why I live in a tiny studio and own as few things as possible because I want to be able to, I don't know where I'm going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, it's an option. I go, and also you work remotely. So I'm not like, oh, I have to live in Seal Beach. I have to live here. No, like it would be great, honestly, if we moved out of the country. Like I'm like really open for all those things. So he even asked that question. And so like I told, like it was like a little exchange of like one of his concerns, one of my concerns. And I can't remember like what his logic was, but he was sick. Like he was like, he caught like that really bad cold that was going around.
Okay.
And I think he like felt I didn't have enough patience or something when it came down to, and I didn't even like dig deeper. I was like, okay, I just let it go. Cause I'm like, that's fine. Like at the root of whatever you're feeling, you're identifying that you don't really want to have the potential of this like repeat, like this behavior that I'm telling you that I may or may not have.
Yeah.
Right.
So that makes sense to like actually figure it out or
yeah.
To, like, yeah.
So I was like, if you are already just like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Like, that's totally fine. Like, it's great. Like, you're a cool person, but like my heart's not shattered. Like it was fine. Like my whole thing was, back to the drawing board. Should I deliver it differently? Should I not deliver it at all? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So it's like, it didn't, like, it doesn't sit with me as a loss or as a win. It just sits with me as an experience. And so like my former supervisor, she was like, why are you so hard on yourself? Like you are so hard on yourself. And, you know, I don't really think I'm hard on myself until she said it. And she has this tone, like she has this voice. And she's really good at her, like what was her job. She's like one of my favorite humans ever. And she's just really good at her tone. Something about her tone just hits you like right there. And so when she said that, like, I'm like, am I hard on myself? Like, and I did cry. Like, I was just like, And it wasn't a cry like, oh, I'm so hard on myself. It was a cry of, I just work really hard, you know, to be the best version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like I'm hard on myself. I just am trying to be the best version and trying to like contribute. And am I perfect? Absolutely not. There'll be plenty of people like, you know, Tony's like, no, you're not perfect. I'm back
for the
fourth
fifth time. I can tell you right now, you ain't perfect. I'm gonna get a mom. Give me another hot pocket. Do you think psychedelics help with that? because I kind of want to jump into your
Yeah, no, for sure.
for
Like,
last Friday.
yeah, like I'm very grateful that I never messed with pretty much anything until I was, however old I was, 38, 39, whenever the pandemic was, and I was in Costa Rica. So like the first time I even did like psilocybin mushrooms was like on a mountaintop in Costa Rica.
Okay.
You know, a very tiny, like half a gram. And if anybody's listening who doesn't know how much that is,
That's
you're very tiny. You're very functional at that point.
Mm.
You know, unless you mess with your own mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
just
you're just
tripping.
you're more like everybody's different, but for the most part, most people are just more attentive and more connected. You know, so I'm definitely a better listener. Like that always helps. But um, like the first like larger dose was like a couple maybe months ago, and that was spectacular. But I had already felt like something happening before with no psychedelics, with no like mushrooms or no anything. I
Mm-hmm.
just felt like more of a presence. I was feeling a lot of like ancestral presence in the first way I've ever felt it, like in my life. So again, having more time, being more mindful, being more present, and it it's like I never forget anything, and I think that's why I started to really like them,
Mm.
because I could remember everything, and that was another huge contributor to not drinking anymore. Because I'm like the drinking, like, oh, that was fun last night. I think it was fun. Like, yeah, it seemed fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But with like shrooms, I could remember everything,
Yeah.
everything, the little nuances of someone's face, like the feeling. That's the part. Is like it's not just the thing, it's the feeling. You can remember that feeling, and it goes back to the experience. And you're not like attached to it. It's like this beautiful detachment of the experience, and then wanting to do more of the work. Like the more experience I have, the more I want to do the work, the deeper I want to go, the more I want like revealed to me. And then it's this beautiful juxtaposition of like, yeah, I want all these things, but I'm cool if like none of them get revealed. And that's the way it usually happens. Like do a little bit. That's why, and I don't mean with shrooms. I mean do a little bit of anything to make yourself a better version of yourself, and you're just going to do more. And it's not like it's just going to start to open up, and it's going to create space because you're going to do the work, and the stuff that you're holding on to is just naturally going to rise to the surface, and you will have now taken the lid off of those things, and you can let them go. And then you want to do more work
Mm-hmm.
in a very good way. And then you want to be of service. And then you want to eat better so that you have more clarity and more energy. So it's just this wonderful ripple effect of connection. So I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. So you did the heroic dose, correct?
Yeah, on Thursday, I mean, we had half an ounce, which is
Like 2.
no, half an ounce. Is it 12 grams? Tony, is it? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, Tony. 3.5. What is 3.5? I forgot what that is.
Well, I think half an ounce is, I think, 12 grams.
I can actually just check.
Yeah.
Let me see. Jamie, pull it up.
Yeah.
Let's see. How many grams in an ounce? Oh, that's a lot. Holy shit. You did. So, wait. Yeah. So 1 ounce is 28 grams.
So yeah, 14. So we had half an ounce. So we had 14 grams, and then we split that
Between how many people?
between three of us.
So that's about.
And it was a little bit more because when he weighed it out, she was like, "Oh, he said it's a little bit more," and I was like, "Okay, that's cool." So we had about 5 grams
Yeah,
each.
that's the heroic dose. Yeah.
So we had like 5 grams each, and it settled in great, but it was an interesting dynamic because my two friends are very different,
Okay.
and one of them is exceptionally stoic and still,
Mm-hmm.
like he's just like sees all the things. He's somewhere else. And then his friend is like frenetic, like nonstop moving, like nonstop going. And like at one point we're both like, we're all three of us are laying there, and there's like this calm like hum of energy, and then there's like this chaotic like symphony happening over
Ah,
here, and I'm in the middle of that. And so I'm like, oh, it feels euphoric
yeah.
to feel like this simultaneous like energy surrounding me, and to still feel like I'm good, like I'm just right. So it was very different from the last time, because the last time there was a lot of moments of we were silent a lot, and then like brief connect and then silent. And this one was like a lot more chatter, a lot more like interaction, I
Hmm.
guess, you know? So it was interesting.
Did you see any visuals?
I didn't, because I was like chatting with like, I wasn't just zeroed in.
Yeah.
So like the beginning was like when I can be quiet, like when it could be quiet and everything is just like vibrating and like building.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite part. So I like for like the next journey, I'm gonna go more like introspective.
Yeah.
Like that served me better. This was felt more social for me, which was great. Like it was, a lot of laughter, a lot of things. It was still like fun. Um, and then we did LSD with that.
Oh wow.
And then we did something else, which I don't know, I maybe won't say that, but we did something else.
I can cut it out.
Yeah. But it was just like at no point did anything feel overwhelming.
Really?
Yeah, at all.
With everything.
With everything.
Wow.
Everything just felt like
Chilling.
chilling, like
That's nice.
super, super, like just
Nothing trippy at all.
no.
Wow.
And I think it was because one, I was in my space, like they came to my place.
Okay.
And my place is tiny. So I'm like, thanks for slumming, guys, because they have like really great houses. And I was like, thanks for slumming. But it's very cozy. So it's like I have my plants, I have the lights, we have like the sage, we have like the candle. It's like everything just felt very like safe. And I don't even think that's the word. It wasn't even safe. It was just like easy. Like easy. It was very like nobody's faces were melting. People are always like, don't look in the mirror. Like I love looking in the mirror.
Yeah, I do too. I was like, oh, I actually look okay, because I'm so in my head. I'm like, you fat fuck, and I'm just like, oh wait, you're not that bad.
You are a handsome gentleman.
I'm like, hey, how you doing? Hey, Tony.
2 hours later, like,
What happened? Yeah, but I did the first time I did a psychedelic was it was salvia. Have you heard of salvia?
I have, but I haven't done it.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, it's like a super psychedelic drug that was just missed when everything was classified like illegal or whatever. So I did that when I was like I think it was like 18. I was still in high school, and I was like, let me go to the smoke shop because it was legal. They sold it
Yeah.
at smoke shops. It's so uncomfortable. It's so trippy. Like it's like you do it off a bong, and you just like rip it, and you hold your breath for 30 minutes. And
Seconds, I hope.
Oh, 30 seconds. I'm on salvia right now. We're both on salvia.
Confession. We haven't taken a breath for 30 minutes.
30 seconds. And then I'm not even joking. You go to a different planet. Like it's just, I don't even remember the first 5 minutes because you're just out of it. And then like when you come back, you're just like, I had like an ego death. I remember just like I was astral projecting over me and my buddies, and then there was like millions of screens of like of what we look like, if that makes sense, like from the back, and they're all different colors. And then I remember I was like, holy shit, I just died, and I was tripping out. And then I laid down, and it was night, and where we lived back in Temecula, there's not a lot of light pollution. And just looking up at the stars, and I started like floating up and just like flying through space.
That's the best.
It was so trippy though. I thought I died. and then after that, I think I did a road trip later that year, and I went to Joshua Tree and did acid there. Have you been to Joshua Tree? I love Joshua
I
Tree.
love Joshua
I'm trying to
too.
plan something big out there.
Well, there's actually a friend of mine is doing a psilocybin retreat the first weekend of June.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, in Joshua Tree, and so that's gonna be enjoyable. I think that's gonna be fun.
Hell yeah. Are you
Yeah.
going to do like another heroic dose?
I don't know what I need to talk to her about what she plans on doing. So it's my first time like doing like attending with whatever she's doing. So I don't know how experienced the people that are attending. So I'm going to connect with her.
Okay.
But part of it is just to see like a smaller like ritual, because I've only had more like solo experiences, and I really want to do ayahuasca,
Oh, yeah.
and those are like group ceremonies. So like this last one with like more people in the room, kind of like adjusting to like other energy in the room, and like not accommodating maybe so much to that energy.
Yeah.
So, but I was there like this last one, like I wanted to, like I hadn't like hung out with his friend before. Like I met him once, and I think he's like super interesting. So I wanted to have those conversations. They were real, and they were good conversations. But compared to like when we were in Joshua Tree on the last heroic dose, where I was able to see so many things and feel so many things, and that one was really, really like the intention was super rooted in my ancestors.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that one was huge. So there's still a message there for me, and I'm looking forward to doing another intentional like larger dose to get or not get more clarity, right? It's gonna give you what it's gonna give you.
That's so loud.
Time's up, we gotta go.
Yeah. That was so loud. Wait, what got you into psychedelics?
It was just like chance. It was literally like when we were shut down, and I ended up living in Costa Rica, and my friend was like, "Do you want to try this?" And I'm like, "Okay." And like, that was cool. And then we did more like another day at the waterfall, and so I've only had really great experiences by chance.
Okay.
And then once I started like seeing like the shift of, oh, I really don't need alcohol anymore. Like, you really, like, every time I dose, I'm like, I just want to be cleaner. Like, I just like, and I'm already mostly plant-based, but even down to like I love me some fake chicken nuggets, like truth time and fries.
The
like,
truth comes out.
Truth. But they're like so horrible.
They are.
You know what I
But they're
mean?
good.
Yeah.
I enjoy 'em.
So it's like now, like not even wanting that. Like, I don't want that. Like, everything down to like the oat milk. Like, I don't want all those things I can't pronounce. Like, so just trying to like have it be super clean, and then trying to put more effort into that. Like, because you can make your own. Like, you can do it with some type of garbanzo bean or something.
Yeah.
Like, I just have to make it. And also, a fun fact, I don't really enjoy cooking. So I enjoy the product of it, like being able to know what I'm eating and having something healthy. But I don't love it. Like, some people love it. They love getting the things. They love following the recipes. They love buying new gadgets. I don't like any of that.
Was this always you, or was this after the big transition?
The cooking part, or which part?
Just all of that, like letting go of the meat, letting go, like introducing psychedelics, like doing all that.
Yeah, well, the psychedelic portion was like, that was after like ending that 13-year relation, that decision that I made.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it was like that decision got made, everything opened up.
That's what I'm saying. So like, was after that, was it just like completely new you? Like,
yes, like
yeah.
not a new me, but I didn't have to be that woman anymore that had to. And I'm still I'm restricted to a certain point. Like, I don't have a ton of, like, even though I have, like, there's a lot of, it goes back to ambivert, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm out there and I'm extroverted, I'm there for everybody, but I'm also very introverted, and I don't let a lot of people, like, even in my space. Like, I'm not that person anymore. It's like, everybody come over. There was a time and a place where everybody was at our place. We had all the parties, the pool parties, the fights, all the things. And now I'm just like, I'm not that person anymore. So it's like, it's still me. There's just like this space. Like, I don't have to take care of anybody. Like, that was the other part where I was like, I don't have to take care of anybody. So I had like no fear, no obligation. And I'm like fully developed and very clear. So it was just like the opportunity presented itself when it should have.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, I didn't have people in my circle before that did shrooms or did Aya or were into plant medicine. It just didn't exist before. Like any tidbits that I got, it's because somehow I found them. So there were like slow growing seeds that I had picked up along the way, whether it was from people, whether it was from memory, whether it was from ancestors. Like I had those seeds that were just very slow to grow, but they were planted, they were there. And once I made that change, it was like it sprung up.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like they have strong roots at this point. Because I remember the first time, like, we did shrooms or we did anything that was altering, I was just so like, oh, hey, by the way, this is going on in my life. Because I literally went out there knowing one person. It's like these people that we were hanging out with, everybody's there to be like to elevate their experience, elevate their life. And whatever like I had going on, if I got like a call from someone or somebody texted me something that maybe wasn't like quote unquote positive, I would just say like, hey, by the way, like I just got this news, like I'm cool with it, I can't control any of it, but just in case, I don't know how I'm going to react to this, whatever we're taking right now, and that might come up. And they were like, oh, okay, like kind of almost shocked of like the communication of that. And then it didn't. It's almost like once you let it out and you're like, what to do, there it is, it doesn't actually bubble up and come back as like a demon or whatever people say they experience. Or like, oh, it's oh my God, no, I can't do mushrooms, like they make me do, they do the, no, that's you.
Mm-hmm.
That's already in you. You just lost control. That death grip, the lid came off. You need to make that, like if you're gonna venture down, like be open. Just like I told that dude, like be open to the experience. So yeah, I was definitely like, after I left that relationship, because I was like on my own, like finally, like for the first time, right? Like my son's healthy, he's happy, I'm just like out here chilling in the jungle. And like I still kind of like when I'm home alone, I'm like, I'm just here. Like think something else is gonna happen. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm gonna be ready. Like I'm gonna be clear and I'm gonna be ready to receive, because I'm always ready to give. So yeah, I've only had nothing but great experiences with it. And I say that with the footnote of, yes, I've cried. Yes, I have felt like immense pain. The interesting part is that the pain that I have felt has not been my pain. Like I have felt like pain from people that I've lost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like feeling that. And it's not even in a heavy way. It's just like, oof, like I get it. Like, okay, like what do I do with this now? That's where I was left on the last journey. Not the recent one, but the one before that. I was like, okay, now what? Like, what do I do with this now?
Yeah.
So since then, I've been like on this like mad, just just how, like, just give me, like, I was like, I'm here to experience. What book? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll get that. I'm just like trying to like devour all the things that the universe is providing me right now. Even this, like tonight, like all the things. So just being present in where I am, not knowing exactly where I'm gonna be, but knowing that I have a purpose, that I have a message. I'm going to continue to do the work and try to learn as much as possible, and then continue to share it. And it's probably like the most joyful existence I've had in the nearly 42 years I've been on this planet. Like it's amazing.
That's a beautiful way to end it. Chrys, it was an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you for
I'm not sure your
asking
time
me.
of how much you have, but
Yeah.
it's been 2 hours.
Has it really?
Yeah, it flew by.
Gosh. Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but that was beautiful.
Oh my
Definitely.
gosh, thank you so much. Like when you asked me, like I have a podcast, and I was like, okay. Like in my head, I'm like, I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
And you're like, do you want to be on it? And I'm like, me.
No, yeah, it happened. It's just random.
That's
so.
awesome.
Thank
I
you so
appreciate
much.
you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Tony.
Tony and Tony's mom. Extra special shout out.
Bye, Tony.